Hey everyone. So it's not been very long. It was October 17th since legalization come into full effect in Canada. And as you've already learned and realized at this point, thanks to people like myself and others that have been trying to warn Canadians about this, is it's not legalization, which is, basically the government saying, hey, we're not going to criminalize, punish, or penalize people for smoking, growing, cultivating, or distributing a plant. No, that's not legalization. As most Canadians have learned, or anyone that's paying attention at this point, is no, when you're talking about legalization, that's government rhetoric, that's government legalese for we want to attempt a takeover of the marijuana industry. And they're definitely trying that. But at the very least, there is one positive report that I can bring out. Most of the time that I've seen these reports subsequent to the legalization date, it's been shortages, or prices are too high, or data's being lost. It's been mostly negative from what I've seen. And as I would expect, I don't even understand why Canadians chose to want to give government some pretense of authority over the marijuana industry. Is like, do you not know anyone that smokes cigarettes or drinks alcohol and ask them what their opinions are in regards to when the government takes over a particular industry? Really? Right? As far as our vices or the recreational products we use to put us in an altered state of mind, or to soothe our nerves, or to ease stress, or whatever you use it for, like I say. But like I said, I'm still baffled on a continued basis that people thought it was a good idea to give government the pretense of authority on yet another aspect of the economy, which, like I said, it's been functioning for so long in this country. We didn't need government, right? It was here. I've known people that have smoked marijuana, well, basically since I was a kid. Like I say, getting weed in this country, in Canada, it's as easy as going to the local grocery store and get yourself a carton of milk. And we got some great entrepreneurs in this country that have already had the delivery on demand model for long before there was even such thing as Uber, right? Or skip the dishes. Like some of these late techie types and these adoptees of the new technological innovation in social media, listen, before you people ever got caught up to speed, like I say, the people in the marijuana industry, they've already had all these bases covered, right? Home delivery, mail delivery, a massive array and variety of cannabis products and edibles. Yeah, like I said, that's been here for as long as I've been alive. Anyways, moving on to this CBC News article. Like I say, this is a good news story, folks. Politics section, of course. Early data suggests no spike in pot impaired driving after legalization, police say. That's like I said even prior to this. Like, what? Do you honestly believe that Canadians that, well, especially Canadians that consume cannabis and want to drive, they're all just waiting for legalization, right? Nobody's out there driving while having a doobie, or shortly after smoking a doobie, or subsequently after smoking a doobie the day before. Because, well, I mean, that's the other thing, right? Impairment, what does that really mean? Well, that's still open to interpretation and up in the air, because, well, it's not scientific in any way. Even these central planning hacks and a lot of other experts have had to admit that. But I mean, of course there's not going to be a spike in, unless the cops are out there actively looking to find people that they can criminalize. That's about the only area you would ever find, ooh, there's an increase in what, pot impaired drivers. No, like I say, no, the only way that would ever happen is if the police are out there actively looking for it. But good luck finding that. Like I say, marijuana, people who smoke marijuana or consume marijuana, especially in relation to the driving aspect of it, yeah, these aren't the folks you're going to see out there like driving at massive high speeds, or reckless, or racing, or chances are they might be going a little bit under the speed limit and being a little bit too safety oriented because they're paranoid for the most part. So yeah, of course you're not going to see a big spike in what, or accidents. Like I said, if it wasn't an issue before legalization, don't expect it to become an issue post-legalization. Although these central planning hacks and authoritarians in government, well, they're hoping that they can find a way to ramp up the police state because, hey, that's all about filling up the government coffers and giving a lot of these authoritarian or these petty tyrant or these mindless order followers something to do in the run of the day, right? More awareness urged for laws around storing marijuana in vehicles and passengers smoking weed. Laura Kane, Canadian Press, November 15th, 2018. Canadian police have not seen a spike in cannabis impaired driving 1 month since legalization, but there needs to be more awareness of laws around storing marijuana in vehicles and passengers smoking weed, law enforcement officials say. Yeah, because we're all, ooh, think of the perilous dangers roll in if they don't store it properly in their vehicle. Ooh, you might get an accident and a big, gigantic bud come flying at your whatever. Anyways, moving on. The Canadian Press canvassed police forces in provincial and territorial crowns across the country, and while some said it was too early to provide data, which I would say at this point in time, 1 month into it, others said initial numbers and anecdotal impressions suggest stone driving isn't on the rise. Even before the legislation, we were catching a lot of high school kids because marijuana has seemed to be kind of mainstream forever, said Sergeant Joe Cantello of the Kennebecasis Regional Police Force in New Brunswick. And that's someone from New Brunswick. Yeah, he's right on the money. Exactly. Yeah, like I said, legalization. Listen, Canadians aren't waiting around, and they haven't been waiting around for legalization. Well, most Canadians. I guess some really, really weird people that want to make it more expensive and pay taxes on it and have lower quality and lesser options available to them. I guess these people might have been waiting for legalization, but they're a very small minority. They're a very tiny representation of the people that are part of the cannabis culture in this country. Let me just tell you that. In our department, there's certainly no rise in impaired driving by marijuana. Police forces in Vancouver, Regina, Newfoundland and Labrador, Yukon, Truro, Nova Scotia, and Kensington, PEI all said they hadn't noticed a significant change in driver behavior since pot was legalized on October 17th. Cantello said there were 3 impaired driving charges in his community over the last few weeks, and they were strictly older adults with alcohol. But even then, even with alcohol, once again, like, that's the thing. Nowadays, the propagandist campaign is so entrenched and so hammered into the psychology of most Canadians that they can say this towards people that consume alcohol and drive and ooh, we're automatically criminals, or anyone that does that, they're bad people. Oh, and the reason why I said we is because, yeah, I got caught up in that mess. I had a few beer on my ATV while I was riding out on a trail in rural New Brunswick, way out in the woods. Nowhere near a big city or anything. And like I say, on a trail on my ATV. And yeah, I got caught up with this impaired driving bullshit. Had my livelihood, my license, and because I was a truck driver, my whole career basically ended and destroyed. And then once again, I'm stuck with a criminal record. So try seeking occupation with a criminal record. Yeah, it's completely destroyed my life. And once again, I didn't have any accident, cause injury or harm to anyone as a result of being impaired, or I wasn't even impaired, to be honest with you folks. But that's the thing, when you can create arbitrary mandates, edicts, or these levels or measures of impairment, like with alcohol, they just say, oh, if you're over 0.5 or 0.8, hey, you're impaired. No, it doesn't matter if we actually went and tested your driving skills or your competency levels. Well, if they actually did that with me, they'd find out, no, not only am I not impaired, actually, I'm actually a much better driver than probably 99% of the people in this country. And that's not an exaggeration, folks. I'm not kidding. I'm a great driver. I'm an awesome driver. I've been driving since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. I could drive basically anything out there on wheels or tracks. And like I say, my entire history, everyone that knows me can attest to that fact. But, I had a few beer in my ATV, so I'm a criminal and I'm a bad person. Now, luckily, like with marijuana, you're going to have less political rhetoric espoused towards you because it's much more acceptable in the culture of Canada. And I see people out there even to this day. Oh, they like to point to the people that have a few beer or a glass of wine or two. Oh, they're still the bad. Oh, they're evil. Oh, look, they're going to kill somebody. Like I say, the propagandist campaign against people like to have a couple drinks or so, yeah, it's still in effect and constantly being ramped up. And the punitive measures And punishments, yeah, they seem to constantly be getting ramped up too. That's the whole thing with our mandatory minimums now, like where they just throw everyone under the same proverbial bus because fear, right? But yeah, don't worry, marijuana smokers. Yeah, you won't have that yet. Well, unless the central planners, the authoritarians, deem that they need to pivot that way. And if they do, watch out, because like I've warned people before, when they come for you, they'll use all kinds of, how you'll know this happens is when you start to see ad campaigns, or on the internet or on your television or on your radio waves, when they start ramping up all these ad campaigns about, how terrible or scary people are that drink while high, or drive while high, then you'll know they're coming for you. Then you really will recognize that, you better be very fearful, because when these people place someone in the crosshairs, they don't care about being reasonable or moral or logically or consistent in any way. They'll just, like I said, it's always about sending a message, so they'll come down hard upon you. Anyways, I'll post a link to this article in the description of the video below. But I'm saying, but at least we're seeing here is, of course, at least it's some confirmation. It's early on, I admit, but at least it's some confirmation that, you're not going to see a rampant rise in, death machines that smoke pot and drive. They're all out there just killing people. Yeah, it's not the wild, wild west just because people consume a little bit of cannabis and get behind the wheel, okay? That's not going to be the end of the world, folks. And I expect you're not going to see that unless, like I say, the only time you'll see this narrative change is if law enforcement choose to ramp up their enforcement. That's about the only time you'll see where there's this escalation in impaired driving. Just because what? Government wrote something on a piece of paper or on a computer screen somewhere that says, we're allowing it now. Even though people have already been doing it regardless of whether it was allowed or not. Anyways, it's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.